I declare this ceremony open. Please be seated. Good afternoon. Guest of Honour, Mr. Lawrence Wong, Minister for National Development and Second Minister for Finance, Mr. Ho Kwon Ping, Founding and current Chairman of the Board of Trustees, SMU, and our keynote speaker for this ceremony, Professor Eugene Washington, Chancellor of Health Affairs at Duke University and President and CEO of the Duke University Health System, Professor Tan Eng Chai, President of the Duke-NUS, Mr. Kai Nagawala, Chairman of the Duke-NUS Governing Board members, Professor Ivy Pung, Group CEO of Sing Health, Professor Edward Buckley, Vice Chancellor for Duke-NUS Affairs, Vice Dean for Education and Chair of the Department of Ophthalmology, Duke University School of Medicine, Mr. Go Yu Lin, Chairman Designate of the Duke-NUS Governing Board, Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chairman of Duke-NUS Governing Board, Professor Thomas Kaufman, Dean, Duke-NUS, graduating class of 2019, families and friends, and distinguished guests. Welcome to Duke-NUS graduation and hooding ceremony. My name is Ian Curran, Vice Dean of the Office of Education. I am your Master of Ceremonies. To start this afternoon's programme, I'd like to invite the Dean of Duke-NUS, Professor Thomas Kaufman, to present his welcome address. Dean Kaufman, please.
Thanks, Ian. Guest of Honor, Mr. Lawrence Wong, Minister for National Development and Second Minister for Finance. Mr. Ho Kwon Ping, Founding and current Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Singapore Management University, and our keynote speaker for this event. Professor Eugene Washington, Chancellor for Health Affairs at Duke University, President and CEO of the Duke University Health System. Professor Tan Eng Chai, President of the National University of Singapore. Mr. Kai Nagawala, Chairman of the Duke-NUS Medical School Governing Board. Professor Ivy Pung, Group CEO, Sing Health. Professor Ed Buckley, Vice Chancellor for Duke-NUS Affairs, Vice Dean of Education, Chairman of Ophthalmology, Duke School of Medicine. Mr. Go Yu Lin, Chairman Designate, Duke-NUS Medical School Governing Board. Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chairman of Duke-NUS, Governing Board members, Class of 2019 and their families, distinguished guests and colleagues. It's quite a list, but it's an important day today, so we have a lot of dignitaries there. So that's a good thing. Good afternoon to everybody. I want to thank you for joining us today as we celebrate the graduation of the Duke-NUS class of 2019. This is our 9th graduating class. This day is joyous and happy as we mark the achievement of a significant career milestone by the class of 2019. We feel proud, but also a little sad as we watch this group leave our midst and move out into the world. So please join me in congratulating the 2019 Duke-NUS graduating class. I also want to wish heartfelt congratulations to the families and loved ones of the class of 2019. You are the true force behind these newly minted doctors and promising biomedical scientists. On behalf of Duke-NUS, we thank you for the love and support you have provided during these past years to keep our students grounded and flourishing. Could we have the families and loved ones stand up and recognize and give them a hand? Families? So I have to disclose here that I have a special connection to the class of 2019. As they were walking into the Kutek Watt building back in July 2015, I was also walking into the dean's office for the first time, starting my first term as dean. So they're my inaugural class, whether you like it or not, they're my inaugural class. And we took this trip together, right? And I'd say we learned a lot during this time, didn't we, class of 2019? You say yeah? It seems like it's a little longer than 4 years, though, doesn't it? To me, at least, maybe not for you. Before going any further, I want to acknowledge two special guests who are with us here today. Our guest of honor is Mr. Lawrence Wong. who's the Minister for National Development, Second Minister for Finance. Prior to his current ministerial appointments, Mr. Wong made significant contributions to Singapore's healthcare landscape. Notably, during his previous stint as Director of Healthcare Finance at the Ministry of Health, he implemented reforms to the local basic health insurance plan, MediShield, to provide Singaporeans with better protection against large hospital bills. Actually, I'm supposed to have a picture of him here if I can get the slides to advance now. There we go. Oh. No, okay. This is supposed to be simple. I'd also like to express my appreciation to our keynote speaker, Mr. Ho Kwon Ping. Mr. Ho is the founding and present chairman of Singapore Management University and has been pivotal in leading the university to become the vibrant institution it is today. SMU's high-impact, multidisciplinary research and innovations in experiential learning have paved the way for progressive academic partnerships. On that note, I'm happy to acknowledge that Duke-NUS has entered into a new and exciting educational collaboration with SMU this year. A through-train program which allows highly selected SMU undergraduates to obtain conditional admission to Duke-NUS, providing a mechanism for students with expertise in the fields of business, law, computer science, health administration, and economics to enter the community of medical practice. This is in parallel with the recent MOU signed between SMU and our partner in academic medicine, Sing Health, to train undergraduate students in health economics. This collaboration complements our other through-train pathway agreements with Duke University, Faculty of Engineering at NUS, Yale NUS College, and SGTD to increase the diversity of options for Duke-NUS to produce students who will be outstanding clinicians, but also contribute to medicine in other ways as researchers, educators, leaders, innovators, policymakers, and now perhaps health economists. So let's turn to the business of hand. Today we will award a total of 62 MD degrees, along with 12 PhD degrees from our IBM program. That's not the computer company, but that's the PhDs are actually in integrated biology and medicine. But the PhD recipients are designated here in the blue box here. And actually today we have 4 individuals who receive combined MD and PhD degrees, representing a culmination of at least 8 years of steady work. So quite a great group, and here they all are, and you'll see them walk up on the stage today and get their degrees. So, I'm revealing my technical insufficiency. So since Duke-NUS began, the MD degree was awarded jointly between Duke University and NUS, and this year, for the first time, the PhD is also a joint Duke and NUS degree. And I'd like to thank all the individuals, particularly Silke Vogel, she's here, and others, who worked long and hard behind the scenes to make this happen. And I want to congratulate this first batch of students who will receive this prestigious joint PhD degree. So like our previous 8 cohorts of graduates, this group boasts strong academic pedigrees, coming to Duke-NUS with degrees from the best universities around the world, including MIT, King's College London, Stanford, NUS, among many others. Our PhD students have completed research projects in a range of important areas such as Alzheimer's disease, liver disease, viral infections, and aging. Almost half of our MD graduates have substantive working experience, offering a broad scope of perspectives. Among them are a former teacher, someone who had a career in finance, civil servant, engineers, and a good number of pharmacists in this batch. So, as I mentioned earlier, I do feel a special bond with this class, and being that we came in together and shared these 4 years of new experiences, learning and growth at Duke-NUS. As such, I thought I would try to give a few words of advice based on my now quite long experience as a clinician, researcher, and leader in medicine. I won't reveal my age, but believe me, it's a lot of years. Now, I've tried to boil this down into 3 key points, which I'm told is about the maximum that people can remember from talks like this. So, class of 2019, you listening? First point is, patients first. Now, this may seem to be a cliche, but it's really an important concept. This slide actually shows the Outram campus of Sing Health, home of SGH, recently named by Newsweek magazine as the 3rd best hospital in the world. Each one of you in the class of 2019 has spent lots of time at SGH and the other Sing Health institutions during your clinical rotations, and many of you will be doing your postgraduate clinical training in Sing Health. So you'll already be familiar with the Sing Health common objective of putting patients at the heart of all we do. Indeed, the driving force behind all of the work and effort that we have dedicated to building this Sing Health Duke-NUS Academic Medical Center is based on the belief that bringing education and research together in a clinical setting provides a unique opportunity to vastly improve health and quality of lives of our patients. And the successes of SGH and our AMC and the quality of medicine practice here are a testimony to the power of this concept. So every day when you walk into the hospital, patients first should be at the forefront of your mind. Now this will not only make you better clinicians, but also better learners. Since in this next phase of your career, your patients will be your most important teachers. And now that you're real doctors, the information that you elicit from your histories and physical exams, the decisions you make, the relationships you form with your patients and their families have real consequences on their health, on their care and well-being. So, patients first. Got that? My second piece of advice is to be curious. If you learn anything at Duke-NUS beyond the essential knowledge and information required to be a good clinician, we hope that you've learned to be curious, to ask questions, and not be satisfied with the status quo. This is how problems are solved. This is how you can truly transform medicine. Curiosity is the lifeblood of an academic medical center. So as housemen, you'll be spending a lot of time following algorithms, making checklists to be sure Mr. X gets his fasting blood glucose in the morning, and Mrs. Y gets her follow-up chest x-ray. And it's certainly important to make sure that the clinical work gets done. And this will be one of your major responsibilities as housemen and as residents. But don't fall into the trap of practicing medicine as an algorithm, because without curiosity, you'll miss things. Every patient is different, and they can't be reduced to checklists and algorithms. And one of the things you'll miss if you don't approach your work with curiosity is the diversity, wonder, and beauty of medicine, which is one of the things that makes our profession unique and also so fulfilling. Curiosity is what distinguishes the master clinicians at Sing Health and elsewhere. Always questioning, thinking outside the box, never failing to appreciate the uniqueness and complexity of each individual patient they see. So never stop being curious. This is how you will solve difficult problems for your patients, but also how you can improve systems and operations in the hospital and develop new approaches for diagnosing and treating diseases. With your maturity, diverse background, life experiences, and a year of team lead, you are well positioned to do this. And so the final piece of advice, be a professional. A little later this afternoon, you will once again recite the Hippocratic Oath, which you did previously at the White Coat ceremony shortly after you entered Duke-NUS. I was there with you too. While this oath, frankly, is a bit archaic, it is an important reminder that the medical profession has a strict code of ethics that governs its practice. As doctors, you'll be interacting with people and their families during their most vulnerable and difficult times, and they will be providing intimate access to the most personal information and to their bodies. Our code of ethics provides a clear framework for you to navigate these circumstances. For the good of your patients and their health, I urge you to respect and conform closely to these principles. But there is another important aspect to being a professional, and that is taking care of yourselves and of each other. Medicine can be a very stressful profession, and burnout has become an important problem that we need to recognize so we can prevent it. A stressed out, sleep-deprived, and unhappy doctor cannot provide high-quality and safe clinical care. This is one of the reasons we've concentrated on promoting well-being and mindfulness as a part of your course of study at Duke-NUS. And I hope you can draw from these experiences going forward into the admittedly difficult and stressful life as a houseman. The importance of this issue was underscored in a very relevant and timely communication from Prof. Ivy Young, CEO of Sing Health, just a few days ago. And if you haven't read this, you should, and especially those of you who are going to be at Sing Health, you definitely should read it. And Prof. Ivy, not just because Ivy wrote it, because it's really good actually, but Prof. Ivy makes a strong case for the importance of promoting resiliency among our healthcare workers and highlighting initiatives and support services within Sing Health designed to, quote, help one another find joy in our work. Indeed, We're very fortunate to be in this great profession of medicine, and there's much joy and fulfillment to be had in our work as doctors. And really, my number one wish for all of you is you will find at least the same level of happiness and satisfaction in your careers in medicine that I've been fortunate enough to have in mine. So, I've shown once the dean starts talking, it's hard to get him to stop, but I will end my remarks here. And I want to congratulate you, class of 2019, recipients of joint Duke and NUS MD and PhD degrees, and look forward to shaking your hands when you come up here on the stage in just a little while. I wish you the best, and look forward to watching you go forward to transform medicine and improve lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Our guest of honour for this ceremony is Mr. Lawrence Wong, Minister for National Development and Second Minister for Finance. Mr. Wong was elected a Member of Parliament in May 2011 and subsequently held positions in the Ministry of Defence, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Communications and Information, and the Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth. Mr. Wong is also a member of the Future Economy Council, the Research, Innovation and Enterprise Council, and the National Research Foundation Board. It is my honour to invite Mr. Wong to share his insights and thoughts. Minister, please.
Professor Eugene Washington, Chancellor for Health Affairs of Duke University and President and CEO of the Duke University Health System, Professor Tan Chai, President of NUS, Chairman of Duke-NUS Governing Board and Governing Board members, graduates and parents, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to join all of you this afternoon for this important milestone for the class of 2019. All of you have worked very hard to get to where you are today. I also want to recognize the family members, the friends, and the faculty and staff of Duke-NUS who have played an important role in your journey. So once again, congratulations to all of you. The class of 2019 comes from diverse backgrounds, and this diversity is one of the strongest traits that the Duke-NUS School brings to our academic and medical community. Traditionally, academic institutions everywhere are filled with researchers and scientists working in neatly compartmentalized and separate disciplinary areas. And nothing wrong with that, and in fact, specialization is needed to push the frontiers of research. But it's always useful to take a step back and have a bigger vantage point to see the broader connections between different areas. We learn to see things from different perspectives, and it leads to better learning outcomes. So I'm glad to know that in the class of 2019, there are engineers, administrators, researchers, pharmacists, and I understand even a teacher in our midst. I'm not sure if he or she will continue teaching, but clearly it's a very diverse class. All of you didn't get the chance to study medicine in your first degree, but through the Duke-NUS program, you are now able to pursue a graduate program and train as a clinician and a scientist. I watch your achievements and I'm a bit wistful because I didn't get the chance to do biology when I was in school too. If you are familiar with the Singapore system, we have something called the Cambridge O-level system. So the year that I did my O-levels in 1988 was also the year where the Ministry of Education made changes to the scoring system. And so my school decided in its wisdom that all science students, even the pure science students, should drop biology and do one additional humanities subject. What to do, right? So I dutifully followed. I didn't do biology in my secondary school. I didn't do biology in junior college. I pursued a different path, economics. So I have always wanted to close this gap in my learning. Of course, I can apply for the Duke-NUS program. A little bit hard to do so now. But whatever I know about biology today, I learned from my own reading and to some extent from work. And so some people ask, what would you learn possibly about biology from working in the Ministry of National Development? And in case you don't know, the Ministry of National Development in Singapore deals largely with public housing, building infrastructure. The furthest thing you can imagine from biology. But we do take care of one thing. We take care of greenery and parks. The National Parks Board comes under my ministry. And I've come to realize that there is a lot more to planting than what you would normally see on the surface. When I first joined the ministry, I decided I had to lead by example, so I started a garden in my balcony. I bought some planter boxes, tried to grow some plants. I watered them beautifully, but they never grew. In fact, they shriveled and died all the time. So I called my NParks team to find out what was I doing wrong. And I learned the secret to good gardening and planting. It lies in the soil. And indeed, scientists are now learning so much more about what contributes to rich, fertile soil and to thriving greenery and plant life. The old paradigm was simply to use chemical fertilizers to grow crops and plants. Now, that yielded some results, but the results tended to be short-term because adding chemical fertilizers to soil would inevitably result in long-term damage. The pests and disease will multiply as more chemical inputs are dumped into the soil, and the soil will eventually get degraded. The better solution is to build soil fertility in an organic way through the growth of beneficial microorganisms and microbes. And that's how you get healthy soil that contributes to resilient and thriving plants. And that's exactly what our NParks gardeners, the team at NParks, the landscape gardeners, the experts, that's how they do it when they take care of our parks and our trees all over Singapore. They rarely ever use artificial fertilizers and chemicals. They produce their own organic compost and mulch through wood chips, through food waste that's recycled, through dead leaves, and they will use that to grow our greenery. And the results of our trees and parks and our city in the garden, I think, speak for themselves. So that's my biology lesson from gardening and planting trees. But I've also learned that the benefits of microbes to plant life applies in many ways to human life too. For a long time, medical science regarded microbes as something that was harmful, something that had to be completely eradicated. All of us grew up with the theory of the germ theory, right, of disease. These are pathogens that need to be removed. Well, antibiotics, as we know now, have been overly prescribed for clinical treatment, and they have been overly used in other sectors as well. In agriculture, antibiotics are used to stimulate the growth of animals, even if the animals are not sick. And some statistics show that globally, about 90% of all antibiotics used are given to animals with no apparent infection. It's purely to fatten the animals, so purely for commercial profit. As a result of the abuse of antibiotics, we are seeing the emergence of multi-drug resistant organisms that no longer respond to many of the drugs we have. Infections with such drug-resistant organisms are harder to treat. They lead to longer illnesses and increased mortality. And we now face the very real threat of a post-antibiotic era, where future generations may die from routine infections we thought we had once conquered. Now, I'm very mindful that I'm speaking to a room of experts, so I shall not belabor the points in case I speak out of turn. But to me, this amazing story of our scientific understanding of life, be it life in nature or human life, I think carries several important lessons. And I listened to the Dean's speech just now. We didn't coordinate our speaking points, but interestingly, the lessons I'm going to share mirror some of what he had just said just now. First, The quest to learn and search for new knowledge must never cease. This requires curiosity, as the Dean mentioned. It takes humility too. It requires a willingness to question existing assumptions and beliefs. After all, it wasn't that long ago that we thought we had figured out how nature works. And those who, in their time, challenged the conventional wisdom were sometimes dismissed as being backward and ignorant. Modern medicine was supposed to have vanquished infectious diseases. We know now that it's no longer the case. At the same time, in this quest for new knowledge, we must always uphold honesty, integrity, and high ethical standards. There is so much that can go wrong when these things are compromised. And look at the anti-vaxxer movement today. Objections to vaccinations have been around since the first vaccine was invented way back in the 18th century. But the movement got a significant boost when a British doctor published a paper on the alleged links between MMR vaccine and autism in 1998 in the top medical journal. Subsequent scientists trying to replicate the results found that they could not, and later it was found that the data was falsified. But it took more than 10 years after the first journal was published. It took more than 10 years before the journal retracted the original paper on the basis that it was a fraud. Interestingly, this is possibly the most cited retracted paper ever in history. It's retracted, but it still remains cited in journals everywhere. So with that kind of a time frame, by then, so much damage has already been done. And the doctor has since been discredited. I think his name has been taken off the British Medical Register, but the damage is there. And today, vaccination rates in some cities in the US and UK are so low that childhood diseases like whooping cough and measles, once thought eradicated, have re-emerged, endangering young lives. It's a salutary reminder of how we must never allow any compromises to the integrity of clinical research and treatment. So learning and relearning, staying humble and honest, continuing the endless quest for new knowledge but never compromising on integrity. These are values that all of you must uphold. You have certainly achieved much by completing medical school, but that doesn't make you an expert on all things. I'm sorry to burst the bubble. Because there's just too much to learn, and our understanding of the world and the human body will continue to evolve. Whatever you know today may well be overtaken by new discoveries tomorrow. So today's graduation is really the beginning of a journey of learning for all of you. Continue to make the effort to learn, to develop new skills, deep skills and capabilities. This takes time, it takes hard work, it's an individual commitment to lifelong learning. And I assure you that you will be richly rewarded if you make that commitment in your life. After graduation, all of you will be looking to pursue your own careers. Don't just follow the conventional path because that's what everyone else is doing, or because that's what somebody told you you should do. Choose something you really want to do, and will find purpose and passion in it. Some of you will want to continue in clinical practice or scientific research. Others will contemplate other options. Whatever path you take, pursue it with courage and conviction. And I'm confident that all of you will excel in your endeavors. Indeed, as students, you have already accomplished many things during your time here. For example, Mr. Chong Chia Lun, who is graduating with an MD PhD, has co-founded a medical device startup which has already been recognized at several medical technology competitions. He's completed an MD PhD and he's even found time to do a medtech startup, so that's quite amazing. Miss Anna Buhara, who is graduating with a PhD, has been elected to the American Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene. This happens to be one of the world's oldest health organizations, but interestingly, she will be one of the youngest board members there, and she will contribute to the important work of reducing the worldwide burden of tropical infectious diseases. Ms. Tan Siti, who is graduating with an MD today, has held diverse roles and responsibilities in projects like Camp Simba, which reaches out and provides support for children from lower income families. And for that, she has received the Outstanding Community Leadership Award. I've just cited 3 illustrations and stories from amongst your cohorts. I think we can go on the whole evening talking about what each one of you have done. So clearly, there is quality in this cohort, and I'm sure all of you will be able to realize your potential and do remarkable things. I believe you will continue to contribute even more as you embark on your medical careers, or careers, be it as doctors, innovators, entrepreneurs, scientists, and future leaders. Your background and training will also allow you to see things in different ways and add value to our healthcare system. Healthcare systems everywhere in the world are complex undertakings. There are issues ranging from financing to appropriate clinical treatments to the operations of the hospital. One management expert said years ago that healthcare is the most difficult, chaotic, and complex industry to manage. This is Peter Drucker in 2002. I don't think the situation has gotten much better today. As with all countries, we are continuing to look at ways to improve the Singapore healthcare system. We already have a system that is well regarded internationally, achieving very good outcomes for the amount that we spend. I remember working on healthcare financing in the Ministry of Health back in 2003, and I was surprised at how often I would be invited to speak at international conferences on this subject, because there's so many countries keen to learn more about how we have designed our healthcare financing system. And as you heard just now, and I'm sure all of you know, SGH was recently recognized by Newsweek magazine as the 3rd best hospital in the world. It's quite an achievement. We have become a little bit blasé in Singapore every time we see these rankings, because it seems like every other day there's some high achieving ranking in Singapore. But if you look at the list of hospitals, the top 5 are either in America or there's one in Germany, I believe. Big countries with very high quality hospitals. So for Singapore, a little red dot to produce one hospital in that top 5, I think is quite remarkable and something we should all be very proud of. So these are high accolades for us, but we will also be the first to acknowledge that the Singapore healthcare system is not perfect, and we are continuing to look at ways to improve it. Now, we are spending more on healthcare year by year, trying to achieve even better outcomes while ensuring that the system is sustainable in the long term. We continue to look for ways to strengthen our healthcare services across the spectrum, beyond the hospital to primary care, community care, and rehabilitative care. Finally, while the system may be complex, all of us who have used the healthcare system before know that the healthcare experience is actually quite straightforward. It boils down to the interaction between the patient and the healthcare practitioner, the doctors, the nurses, the therapists, and other service providers. So the tagline that SingHealth uses, and that the Dean mentioned just now, patients first, and patients at the heart of everything, is crucial to getting a good healthcare system in place. Because no matter how good the system or policies may be, it is ultimately the human experience that counts in the end. And that's why all of you, our graduating class, each one of you can and must make a difference. And we look forward to your contributions in improving healthcare outcomes and in improving lives in every society, wherever you may be. With that, let me congratulate all of you once again on your graduation, and I wish you every happiness and success in your future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Wong. Delivering our keynote address today is Mr. Ho Kwon Ping, founding and current chairman of the Board of Trustees, Singapore Management University. Mr. Ho is widely known as an accomplished entrepreneur with global establishments. He is the founder and executive chairman of Banyan Tree Holdings and Laguna Resorts and Hotels, and the executive chairman of Tai Wei Public Company. It is my honour to invite Mr. Ho Kwon Ping to present his keynote address. Mr. Ho, please.
Good afternoon to all our dignitaries and to the graduating class. I was originally given a list of some 15 salutations, but I think Dean Kaufman already covered that, and it will be a test of all of you physicians to remember every single detail, so I shall test you by not having to give all the rest of the salutations. And it'll save you a minute out of my speech. Having officiated at over 20 consecutive SMU graduation ceremonies, sometimes with over 6,000 graduate parents and friends, I'm particularly pleased to be here today in a much smaller and more intimate ceremony. In fact, it's so small that all of the graduates here represent only about 15% or so of the already small annual cohort of several hundred medical school graduates from Singapore. So you can consider yourselves truly to be the creme de la creme of an already quite creamy elite. And I will address that issue about elitism later. Now, luckily for me, SMU, although we have a partnership with you, we have nothing even remotely resembling a medical school to compete with you. So I can honestly put hand to heart and say that you are the best medical school, not just in Singapore, but the entire Asian region. Of course, that's until we set up our own Now, as a complete amateur to the world of medicine, I'm probably the best placed person to speculate a bit about the world of medicine that many of you will be entering into. I think we all know that scientific and technological innovations usually come in waves or cycles, and many observers believe that we have already passed, or will soon pass, the peak of internet-based and digitally determined innovations. Now, digital technology will undoubtedly still reap many changes to the future of work, the organization of companies, and so forth. But further disruptions will follow the law of diminishing returns. 5G internet technology will be like moving from the steam train to the Shinkansen high-speed train. Simply improvements in speed, but not fundamentally different. Future iterations of smartphones will just showcase marginally new features, unlike when the first Apple iPhone was launched. But in stark contrast, the world of medicine and life sciences is just on the cusp of a new cycle of discoveries and innovations, which are revolutionary because of their impact on the very nature of life itself and on the structure and texture of human society. The last major medical revolution was arguably the discovery of bacteria several centuries ago, which led to the entire discipline of microbiology, the development of antibiotic medicines, and its impact on human life. However, this too has run through its innovation life cycle. On the other hand, many decades ago, the discovery of DNA led to gradual advances in molecular medicine. But it wasn't until genome sequencing, which enabled dramatic advances in genetic engineering, that we are now at an inflection point in the discipline called life sciences. And life sciences is exactly what the word implies. The ability to manipulate, alter, and extend the fundamental essence of human existence, life itself. You will all be in the thick of this cycle and entering the world of medicine in possibly the most exciting time in this past and present century. Whether from cell-based meat substitutes to genetic prevention of hereditary diseases, from the commercial cloning of organs and entire creatures to humankind's ultimate goal, the significant prolongation of life itself. These examples are just a tiny fraction of what is to come. And though the field of life sciences will inevitably involve every discipline from biomechanics to computing sciences, the greatest impact will be on and through medicine. I'd like to highlight a few paradoxes in the future world where medicine and technology are exponentially intersecting. The first paradox of technological change is that it is simultaneously both positive and negative to human progress, leading to profound ethical dilemmas. Change has a dialectical nuance where good is also bad. The global spread of non-censorable social media enabled the liberation of oppressed peoples many places around the world. But these original idealistic visions also resulted in a dystopian world of fake news propagated by proto-fascists. The creation of female oral contraceptives ended the Malthusian nightmare of cycles of overpopulation, but also led to massive disruption to traditional social relations. This duality in any kind of technological change will lead to profound ethical dilemmas. You're already seeing this in the controversy over stem cell research or human cloning, to name just two obvious examples. As many of you begin to specialize and then to excel in highly focused fields of research, always be keenly aware of the broader context of ethical responsibility for the social impact of your research findings. You cannot hide behind the false veil of pure academic research and avoid having a view on ethical dilemmas. A doctor, a medical researcher, is not just a scientist, but also and above all a humanist whose primary goal is to heal people and to do no harm. As doctor leaders and humanists, you will need to navigate with wisdom and compassion the unknown unknowns of the impact of medical advances on our broader society. The second paradox is that the more sophisticated the technological change, the more will the change leaders need to be intuitive rather than simply cleverer or more rational. In other words, the more high-tech the change, the more high-touch you need to be. For those who will not pursue research, your responsibilities are also huge, but perhaps somewhat counterintuitive. The exponential increase in the application of robotics and artificial intelligence in medicine, or what some call medtech, will ironically not require as a core attribute of young doctors high skills in computer science, coding, or understanding logarithms. That will be done by computers, which can exhibit machine learning and solve logical problems such as medical diagnostics faster than any human doctor. In a world of medtech, the human doctor must mediate between the cold logical conclusions of medical science and the recipient of these conclusions, the human patient. More than lawyers, accountants, or other professions, the doctor deals with a hugely complex range of human emotions, much of which is not rational at all. And this will demand of you deep insights into human nature and an empathy for emotional needs, for you are not just medical engineers. A doctor is also a healer of souls in their most desperate and vulnerable moments. That calling, embodied in legends such as Albert Schweitzer and others, goes to the very heart of medicine as perhaps the most noble vocation a person can aspire to. The third paradox is that increasing longevity is a double-edged sword. According to the International Longevity Center, the Asia-Pacific region is becoming one of the oldest regions in the world, with about 60% of the world's total population of persons aged over 60 years. Singapore today ranks amongst the top 25% of over 200 countries with the highest percentage of old persons. By 2050, when most of you will be at the peak of your careers, we will climb further up the demographic rankings. Don't we love, as a nation, rankings? And we will be amongst the top 10 not 10%, the top 10 of the oldest countries in the world, making us what demographers call a super-aged society. This rapidly extended longevity within a single generation, propelled by dramatic advances in medicine, is unprecedented in human history. Existing social structures, and particularly the funding of these structures to support aging societies, have not been able to keep up. All over the world, the costs of medical and related support for aging populations, even in rich nations like Singapore, will be unsustainable without changes in the way that medicine is delivered. The fourth paradox is a greater need for more community-based general practitioners in a world of increasing medical specialization. Amidst all this excitement about predictive, precision, and personalized medicine, which are some of the outcomes of increasing medical specialization and demographic longevity, is the stark reality that the practice of medicine is not just about human advances, but humane and holistic patient care. After all, the concept of hospitals derived from the word hospitality, which has as its origins the Latin word for guest or stranger, or hospice. It is incidentally only through this little tiny link that my humble vocation has any association with your exalted calling. We are both in hospitality. I'm at one end, you're at the other end. But this also means that the mission of a hospital is not simply to cure, but to also care for the patient. New forms of community-based hospitals, the aim of which is to persuade people to engage in more preventative and self-helping medical practices to mitigate soaring health costs, as well as to retain the critical doctor-patient relationship or trust, is critical for future societies to remain cohesive and sustainable. And the fifth paradox is that as the science of medicine advances, the greater is the complementary role of traditional and alternative medicines. Advanced biochemical tools of analysis, when applied to empirically rather than scientifically based traditional alternative medicines, have resulted in a new field of integrative medicine, which borrows the best from both worlds by scientifically reconciling what previously seemed to be irreconcilable differences in approach. This has given much more evidence and science-based credence to traditional Chinese medicine, to Ayurveda, to homeopathic medicines, and allowing them to play both a complementary and supplementary role in an overall more integrated approach to the healing of diseases. Now, these 5 random paradoxes are just a few of the contradictions you will encounter. There will be many more, and as you pursue your own careers, remember always that it's only when you observe, understand, consider, and then reconcile dilemmas, paradoxes, contradictions, what I call, self-servedly, the asking why approach to life. And here I'm plugging a book that I recently wrote. Will you be better than a machine? Let me conclude now with a few remarks about what I touched on at the very start, which is about yourselves as a quintessential elite. As doctors, you're already members of an elite, but as Duke-NUS graduates, you're even more privileged and an exalted subspecies. But in the current mood, global mood of radical populism, you will feel enormous pressure to downplay and deny your elite status. To downplay is good. We are an egalitarian society where any display of superiority, whether intellectual, economic, or political, or in any other form, is frowned upon, and rightly so. To deny, however, is bad, because it implies you do not recognize that your special privileged status also brings enormous responsibilities. Elites have always existed, and ironically never more so than in those social groupings which profess the greatest equality, such as pseudo-utopian cults or proto-communist societies. What marks the progress of humankind is not a reduction in the existence of elites, but their increasing subordination to the values of egalitarianism and the increasing fluidity of their membership. This is how society progressed from aristocracies to meritocracies, from absolute monarchy to liberal democracy. In recent decades, the globalization of trade, capital, and labor, which has lifted tens of millions of people from poverty into middle class, has also resulted in unprecedented inequality. The fact that 1% of the world's population controls 99% of its wealth is so repugnant that the inevitable backlash, the rise of radical populism, has made any form of elitism suspect, dangerous, and to be denied. This has created a crisis of liberal democratic leadership in many Western societies. Fortunately, it has not yet come to Singapore, and it must be resisted by people who recognize that as members of an elite, they must on one hand practice the values of egalitarianism, whilst willing to undertake, even under social criticism from populists, the responsibilities of leadership, which comes with being members of an elite. As you all advance in your careers, I hope that you will each make unique contributions to medicine and to Singapore. You owe your families, other loved ones, teachers, and all of us in the larger society a special responsibility to make this world a better place. But remember, while I congratulate you, that while you do good, also have fun. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ho. The Hippocratic Oath, the taking of the Hippocratic Oath occurs at several critical times in the development of our clinicians. First, at the White Coat ceremony in the first year, which marks the beginning of their Doctor of Medicine programme, and now signalling the end of the formal education process. The oath lays out the professional values and personal responsibilities that our graduates all agree to uphold in the future care of their patients. By taking this oath, and I'm looking at all the graduates, by taking this oath, you bond with your fellow students, your predecessors, your physician colleagues, and your mentors. I would also like to invite fellow physicians among the audience who would like to retake the oath to please rise and join in the graduating class and I to recite the oath together. The oath of Hippocrates. Together, I do solemnly swear, by whatever I hold most sacred, that I will be loyal to the profession of medicine and just and generous to its members, that I will lead my life and practice my art in uprightness and honour, that in whatsoever home I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick and well to the utmost of my power. And I will hold myself aloof from wrong and from corruption and from the tempting of others to vice, that I will exercise my art solely for the cure of my patients and the prevention of disease, and will give no drugs and perform no operation for a criminal purpose, and far less support such sadistically, that whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of men, which is not fitting to be spoken, I will keep inviolably secret. These things I do promise, and in proportion as I am faithful to this oath, may happiness and good repute be ever mine. The opposite, if I shall be forsworn. Thank you. Please be seated. I'm delighted to invite an alumnus from the class of 2018, Dr. Gwen Huang, to come forward to present the class and their ceremonial credits. Dr. Huang, please.
Thank you for coming. Good afternoon. I'm very honored to be invited to present the graduating classes today. Today marks the graduation of our 5th cohort of MD, PhD and PhDs who joined the entry class today in our podium ceremony. It is my pleasure to invite Senior Vice Dean Professor Patrick Casey on stage now to commence with the PhD pudding. I would also like to invite our guest of honor, Minister Lawrence Wong, to present the certificates, and Dean Kaufman to present the scrolls. It is now my honor to present the PhD graduates with their research supervisors and ceremonial clearance. Chong Su Xian Joanna, and Associate Professor Helen Zhou. Feng Sweat In Sarah, and Professor David Bersha. Wang Jiawen and Associate Professor Wang Hongyin. Li Feng Tao and Associate Professor Wang Hongyin. Rahara Anna and Professor Antonio Bertoletti. Ashwati Vipin and Associate Professor Helen Zhou. Yong Zixin and Assistant Professor Xie Guozhang. Next up, our MD PhD graduates. Chi Yuemin Selina and Professor David Bersha. Jia Lun, and Associate Professor Lai Xiang Hui. Garcia Alfonso and Professor Antonio Bartoletti. Thank you, Professor Casey. The ceremonial wedding for our MD class will have Associate Professor Lai Xiang Hui and Assistant Professor Suzanne Goh as the ceremonial witness. It gives me great pleasure to now invite them both on stage. Adriana Chandra Ardi. Cai Meijin. Chan Chong En Linus. Narishini Naya Chandran. Chen Shengda Joel. Chong Yi Ching Vanessa. Chu Wen Rong Randall. Nazia Nasser Chowdhury. Michael C. Y. Chu. Chua Tek Beng. Fong Kun In. Gao Qineng. Peng Shu Yun. Huang Xinxin. Musa Kiani. Ko Jiemin Jasmine. Li Jingxiong. Li Lianjie Anthony. Liu Mingjie Gerald. Lim Eng Hao. Vanessa Lim Zikun. Lim Yen Ying Jasmine. Low Cat Dong. Low Kok Yao. Kermi Raphael. Rui Qin. 义思。Vincent Lee 义胜。翁少强 Alvin。翁义林。翁义晴。Anita Pilon Tanako. 戚丽华。前院。Stephanie Senna. Narendra Bhupal Suryavanshi. Tan Yunjie Aaron. Han Jung Jong. Samantha Tan Ing Ing. 文言。In Kendra. Albert Teo Eng Kyong. Kim Chu Eun. Tong Jin Hang Den. Fou Ming Ren. Wang Yijun. 温天凯。Jonathan Wu. Stella Wu仙子。谢玉飞。岩石。耀杰。Brandon Liu 宝胜。 Chang Chung Harold. Thank you, Doctor. Dean Hoffman would now like to present a token of appreciation to Minister Wong. Thank you, Minister Wong and Dean Hoffman. And that concludes the presentation of our new graduates. May I invite Prof. Karen to resume with the ceremony? Prof. Karen, please.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Please join us in congratulating all our new graduates. I'll now call on the person chosen to represent the PhD graduates, Dr. Fung. Please.
Good afternoon, guests of honor, Mr. Lawrence Wong, Minister for National Development and Second Minister for Finance, Mr. Ho Kwon Ping, founding and current chairman of the Board of Trustees, SMU, and keynote speaker for this ceremony, Professor Eugene Washington, Chancellor for Health Affairs of Duke University and President and CEO of the Duke University Health System, Professor Tan Eng Chai, President of NUS, Mr. Kai Nagarwala, Chairman of Duke-NUS Governing Board, Governing Board members, Professor Ivy Ng, Group CEO of SingHealth, Professor Edward Buckley, Vice Chancellor for Duke-NUS Affairs, Vice Dean for Education, and Chair of the Department of Ophthalmology, Duke University School of Medicine, Mr. Goh Yu Lin, Chairman-designate of Duke-NUS Governing Board, Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chairman of Duke-NUS Governing Board, Professor Thomas Kaufman, Dean Duke-NUS, Class of 2019, family, distinguished guests, friends, and colleagues. It is an honor to be here representing the graduating PhD class of 2019. Standing on this podium is a surreal experience, and I feel both anxious and overwhelmed with gratitude. I would like to express my gratitude towards the people who have entrusted me with their time and resources, and also those who have supported me in my educational journey. It has certainly been a long but rewarding process, and I think my parents are probably still in disbelief that their daughter is finally done with school. This, I can confidently say, could not have been possible without the guidance of my dedicated mentors who helped me to stretch my capabilities. These individuals have supported me in ways that may seem effortless, but in reality required a great deal of patience. And if they were always on hand to offer me guidance, I know it is not because they have plenty of free time to spare, but rather that they believed in ensuring that we are growing in our scientific ventures. I want to especially thank Dr. Lee Sang-Hoon and Prof. David Bishop, whose doors were always open for their students. They were always happy to engage in scientific discussions with me, go over my manuscripts, and listen to my scientific woes. They have become the role models whom which I will always look up to, and working with them have made my time at Duke-NUS unforgettable. To all the PIs who courageously took us under your wing, we could not be more grateful. I would also like to thank Professor David Silver and Professor Silver and their teammates, Catherine and Rosala, whom I suspect have secret antennas that can sense whenever any one of us needs help. I was in fact lucky to be on the receiving end of their care on several occasions, such as when Prof. Silver personally called me to our office to check if I was doing all right. We have been privileged to have the leadership of Dean Thomas Kaufman and Vice Dean for Research, Professor Patrick Casey, who were instrumental in shaping this PhD program into what it is today. To my classmates and friends, it has been a wonderful experience growing together, not just as scientists, but also people. We have witnessed one another get engaged, get married, gain a few pounds, grow patches of gray hair, bear children, and subsequently grow more patches of gray hair. We have collectively commiserated over rejected manuscripts, statistically insignificant tumor growth, and plain ugly Western blots. But at the same time, we have celebrated victories such as passing PQEs, participating in meaningful collaborations, having our manuscripts accepted, and finally graduating. To summarize this journey we have shared in a sentence or two is not going to do it justice. I do, however, believe that we will meet again, whether as in a personal or professional capacity. I know that the next time I need help analyzing a brain scan, I can approach my friends who are neuroscientists. And when I need to solve a protein structure, I can turn to my structural biologist friends who will help me decode what is beyond my grasp. I will always appreciate the friendships forged here at Duke-NUS. Last but not least, I want to thank our families for being such pillars of strength, for providing us with a semblance of sanity when we have left ours in the laboratory. It's difficult to articulate my utmost gratitude to my parents, and that's probably because before I even try to thank them for anything, they always interrupt me with, "No need to thank me, please just get to class on time." Thank you, Mom and Dad, for always putting me first. While I was clearing my desk earlier this month, I found multiple post-it notes from my late mentor, Dr. Lee. They all have handwritten instructions, such as, "Do this by today, read this by today, think about this today." Dr. Lee has taught me to make each day count. The author C.S. Lewis famously said, "The future is something which everyone reaches at a rate of 60 minutes an hour, whatever he does, whoever he is." I've come to realize that growth does not only happen in the face of adversity, it should happen every day. The paper you read, the conversation you had with your colleague along the hallway, the experiment you really dreaded doing on a Friday night but completed anyway, those things matter. They help us grow, and years down the road, you may just realize that these little things that occur in your daily life have made you a better scientist and person. So as we embark on our new adventures, may we embody the same spirit of tenacity exemplified by our mentors, while always striving to inspire excellence. And if we do improve lives along the way, that will be the greatest blessing. With that, I congratulate us, the graduating class of 2019. I would like to invite class president, Dr. Samantha Tan, to present the final ceremony speech. Samantha.
Good evening. Guest of honor, Mr. Lawrence Wong, Minister for National Development and Second Minister of Finance, Mr. Ho Kwon Ping, founding and current chairman of the Board of Trustees, SMU, and Keynote Speaker for this ceremony, Professor Eugene Washington, Chancellor for Health Affairs of Duke University and President and CEO of Duke University Health System. Professor Kang Chai, President of the NUS. Mr. Kai Nagawala, Chairman of Duke-NUS Governing Board. Governing Board members, Professor Ali Group CEO of St. Health. Professor Edward Buckley, Vice Chancellor for Duke-NUS Affairs, Vice Dean for Education, and Chair of Department of Ophthalmology, Duke University School of Medicine. Mr. Goh Yu-Lin, Chairman-Designate of Duke-NUS Governing Board. Mr. Tony Chu, Founding Chairman of Duke-NUS Governing Board. Professor Thomas Coffin, Dean, Duke-NUS, Class of 2019, and family, distinguished guests, friends, and colleagues. It's my honor today to be here representing my class of 2019. During the last few months of SIP, we have clocked in numerous hours and awards, staying back for calls, calling family, writing blue letters, and discharge summaries. And today, on the day of our graduation, I want to encapsulate my and our SIP experience with a discharge summary for us all. If this is too technical, there are now 62 new doctors that can explain this to you later. I present to you the discharge summary for the class of 2019. Class of 2019, age range 25 to 38, 29 female, 33 males, originating from a wide range of different countries as above. Date of admission, 29 July 2015, length of stay, 4 years at Duke-NUS. Drug allergies include night calls, developing a diffuse maculopapular rash. Occupation, students, otherwise ADLI and community ambulant. Past medical histories include the following: undergraduate, master's, and the PhDs. History of presenting complaint with a desire to study medicine. For some of us, this has been a long-term dream that the school has been able to fulfill. For some of us, this is an avenue to pursue further research interests, armed now with newfound medical knowledge. On examination, vitals as follows: poor oral intake from the lack of time to eat, draining concentrated urine from the lack of water, as well as I suspect some of us may be growing kidney stones right now. Otherwise, examinations as follows: issues and progress. Year 1, transient amnesia, 1 year. First year feels like such a long time ago. My only recollection of that time was that we were stretched mentally, having to learn all of anatomy, physiology, and pathology in a year. We suffered from constant amnesia, trying to flex our memories for rats, our near-daily tormenting quizzes. Trying to remember this, and this. And there's of course our team lead sessions. Team circle, everyone. They taught us how important teamwork truly is. As a medical professional, we do not work in isolation, but we're part of a collective team. Having been so accustomed to this in year 1, we will soon see the spirit carry us forward in later years, as it's ingrained in us to help each other. And now, it is only natural we have each other's backs. Year 2, delirium, 1 year, associated with tremors. Before we know it, year 2 began. Officially entering the wards, I was disoriented to time. Arriving at SGH looked like this. Leaving SGH looked like this. What does sunlight look like again? I don't know. To place? Where was the gauze? The word was so unfamiliar to us at that time, but now it feels like home. Where was Ward 46? Which wards were connected? And I come across the MRSA ward? And to people. As we should have best to remember our patient's conditions, diet, PT/OT status for roundups, I'm praying I do not get the coffee orders wrong. Who ordered the coffee, Steve? We had tremors from questions from consultants, trying to mutter something coherent. Bombarded with questions like, when taking blood or standing on blood, I pray that my hands don't shake, and please let me see flashback. We gain confidence step by step, finding our equilibrium in the wards. And with that, we enter year 3. Palpitations, 1 year, transient, worse with deadlines and exams, and somehow we were halfway through and in need of a break. Research allowed us to further explore our fields of interest and contribute to the body of scientific and medical research. In year 3, we racked our brains again, pulling back information from year 1 for our USMLE step exams, trying our best to recollect things like, what is the fungus that resurfaces after an earthquake? What is medical school without a surprise quiz? Class, what is the answer? Very good. And then year 4, Dipsia, 1 year. Does somebody want to interpret the AUG? And with that, we are in our final year. The answer is here for those who are trying to interpret. It feels so surreal. It was time to distill all that we have gained in the past 4 years in our final CPX4 exam. It was now that our class camaraderie truly shined as we hunted for cases, shared them, taught, and learned from each other. We told patients that there would be more of us coming to examine them, and they could kindly allow our classmates to learn from them too. And as I was preparing for this exam, I was so thankful for my class, for having met all of you, for having the opportunity to grow and learn with all of you. To our teachers and mentors, I thank you for molding us into the doctors we will be. The tough love, your guidance, and your ultimate patience have shaped us into the doctors we will become. To the staff in the MD program and student affairs, thank you for supporting us and taking care of our welfare. Now it's finally time. Class of 2019, well and stable for discharge on 1st of June 2019. Discharge to home. I would like to extend my final thank you to our families, who are the quiet unsung heroes behind us. Thank you for listening to our frustrations, being kind when we were short-tempered, and tending to us when we were exhausted. Without you, we would not be smiling here today. Discharge plans, TCU Duke-NUS Medical Alumni Open Date. Now we have transitioned from students to alumni, and our community, while small, is close-knit. As a class, we owe a lot to our seniors, from tutorials to bedsides, life, and career advice. Our community is predicated on the belief of passing it forward. And now, as a new graduating class, it is our turn, and I look forward to seeing the many ways that we can give back. Congratulations, class. You graduate today.
Thank you, Dr. Samantha Tan. Thank you. So, before I close this evening ceremony, may I add a few of my own personal congratulations to each and every one of our graduating class. Sir Winston Churchill famously once said, "This is not the end, it's not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning." Now, as you stand on the cusp of a new chapter, a new career, a new beginning, may I share some safety advice that I appreciated receiving as a newly graduated doctor some moons ago. Make the care of your patients your first concern. Treat every patient as you would wish your own family to be treated. Do the right thing, even if it's difficult or challenging to do so. And as you go forward, may I wish you every success in your future endeavours. May I encourage you to be brave, be humble, be curious, and above all, be kind. Finally, may I challenge you to, in whatsoever you do it with all your might. On behalf of the school, may I thank each and every one of you for joining us today to celebrate our students' outstanding achievements. Please stay on and enjoy the celebratory buffet reception outside the auditorium after the ceremony. And now, as I invite our guest of honour and our other dignitaries, faculty and our graduating class to participate in the formal recessional, may I respectfully ask everyone to stand and please wait until the formal procession has left the auditorium. Thank you and good evening. I declare this ceremony closed.
Hello.